I created this guide. Initially I made it for my clients and I have a document that I send to clients, but I'm sharing it here in case it's useful for you. Maybe you're a commissioner working with an illustrator, maybe you're an illustrator working with somebody new, or you're setting up your boundaries and stuff. Yay, good for you. Anyways, whatever, I hope it's helpful. If you like more of this kind of thing, I am 1/3 of the Good Ship illustration, and at the moment we're working on the business course. It'll be out soon, and yeah, this is like a tiny sprinkling of the sort of stuff I'll be talking about. It's all about working in a way that feels good for you, setting up an illustration business that works with you and your brain and your life, and yeah, making a decent living from your illustration work. So I've been an illustrator since 2012, so that's 11 years, maths. And in that time I've learned a lot about like what is nice when you're receiving feedback from clients, what makes it really tricky to work with people. So yeah, I've made this guide. It's a downloadable thing, but also I thought, why not make a video as well? Okay, so apologies in advance, my notes are here and I haven't mastered remembering what I've written down. But side effects of this guide are that you will have a lovely time working with your illustrator, you'll get exactly what you want, creatively anyway, and your project will finish and you'll be really happy and probably stay friends with the illustrator and want to work with them again, which is win-win all round. The first step in good feedback is like laying the foundations before you even start working together. Before you begin, you want to make sure that you have a contract. Yeah, these are all the things that are a massive pain in the bum to change later on. So you want to know about the dimensions, like what do you want it, landscape or portrait? Where's it going to be used? If you don't know the dimensions, at least discuss where you're going to be sharing the illustrations afterwards. It's really important to agree on the scope. And what the scope is basically, I mean, you probably already know this, but just when's the deadline? How many rounds of revision is there going to be? What are you actually going to get at the end of this? So if it's 2 illustrations, that's agreed now, and it means further down the line if you decide, oh actually I want 3, then the illustrator can come back and say, look, that wasn't in the initial scope that we agreed, but I can do that, it'll just cost you X amount more. Yeah, it's also worth talking about like the process. So will there be a rough stage? What happens if one of you wants to cancel the project? That's usually listed out in the contract. And yeah, it might be that there's a fee if you cancel closer to the deadline, or if you cancel way in advance, then it's all right. Every contract is different, every illustrator is different, but it's worth getting that all ironed out before you even begin, and then you know where you are. So during the project, this is when the magic is happening. You've given your illustrator a lovely clear brief, you've got a contract in place, and they're drawing pictures for you. They're probably going to come back to you with where they're up to, maybe a rough or something. As an illustrator, it's hard. When you send somebody your work and then you hear nothing, like not even that they got the work, it's really hard to just be cool about it. So if you're able to just say like, oh, thank you for sending that, you don't have to say whether it's good or bad or whether you have any feedback at that stage. Just saying that you've received it is gonna be a game changer for illustrators. It like makes you a little bit nervous when you send something and you hear nothing. You're like, oh my god, what did I do wrong? I've like not illustrated them the right thing. They hate it, they hate me, they're gonna cancel the project, oh my god. But if you just say like, cool, thank you for sending this, I'm gonna think about this and I'll get back to you. Yeah, bonus points if you say when you're gonna get back to them. Trust the process. So if you've agreed the deadline, you know when you're expecting work, you can rest easy that they are just getting on with it, everything's fine. Side note for illustrators, if you're not gonna be able to make the deadline, it's so helpful to just tell your commissioner, whoever you're working with, that you're not going to be able to make it, and in that way they get the opportunity to, you know, sort it out. Either maybe there might be some wiggle room with the deadline, or they might be able to change the brief a little bit to make it less work heavy. It might also be that they can get somebody else to do the job and you can be quietly removed. Before we even get into the feedback thing, here are a few things about last minute changes. I know it happens. You've got the brief sorted and then the CEO or whoever sticks their oar in and they're like, oh, actually we need, you know, this colour scheme, or we've just rebranded and this is the new logo. It's totally fine. Just let the illustrator know as soon as you possibly can, and then it means that they can make the changes and sort it out. And you don't have to apologise, but you can, you know, just express that you understand it's not ideal. Sometimes it's a little bit annoying. It depends what the change is, and it also depends on your attitude and how nice you are. So yeah, there's a lot to be said for just being polite about asking for changes. The actual meaty bit of the video, how to give an illustrator feedback. I am going to look at my notes now. Yeah, but how to give an illustrator feedback and get what you want without pissing them off or frazzling them out so they need to take the next 4 weeks off. Yeah, in high school I had this amazing teacher, and he would like pace around the room and you would do these hands and go, feedback. So yeah, feedback's very important. Thank you, Dr. Jones. But the way that you deliver the feedback is going to make the difference between a lovely working relationship and a brilliant illustration that you're so happy with, and a sad illustrator and either no project because they've dropped out because you've been horrendous to work with, or something that you're not totally happy with because they haven't taken your feedback on board. Feedback is best served crisp, organised, and clear and concise. It's totally understandable. You might be working with a huge team, lots of stakeholders, everyone needs to give feedback. That's totally cool. But it's your responsibility as the commissioner to kind of go through that feedback, make sure that different points aren't contradicting each other, because it happens. Make sure people aren't just contributing feedback because they want to look useful. It happens as well. Sometimes people just feel like, oh yeah, I'll just say this, like move this slightly that way. Just making sure that the feedback makes sense and is reasonable. What's the word I'm looking for? Like has a reason behind it. Yeah, that's important. No feedback is okay. Maybe you've seen the illustration and you're like, yeah, that's it, but I've agreed to 2 rounds of revisions, so when am I gonna, let's revise something? No. If it's fine, you can leave it, it's totally cool. It just shows that you've hired a brilliant illustrator, and it also is credit to your brief making skills. You've communicated your brief amazingly, the illustrator has got it in one, you can all go and have a little relax and a holiday. Yeah, we talked a little bit about this, but it's just about gathering it all in one. So if you are probably the person speaking to the illustrator, keep it to one person. Don't start CCing in random people, adding email chains and stuff. If you can keep yourself as the main point of contact, that makes it way easier for illustrators to deal with. If you've got 2 rounds of revisions, you don't want to squander them by like adding things. You need to put it all into one email or PDF or marked illustration, whatever it is, the vehicle for you giving feedback. Keep it in one place, and then if you take your time over it and you make it count, you're going to have a much better result. You don't have to be super fast and jump into giving feedback, but like I mentioned before, even if you can give an idea of when you're going to give feedback, that is really helpful. So saying, thanks for sending this, I will get back to you on Friday. Amazing! We can all relax, and the illustrator can kind of make a note on their calendar. On Friday I'm going to be receiving feedback for this thing. Worth talking about opinions versus facts. And in the past, I've had, and I know some of my friends who are also illustrators have had feedback where people just say, oh, I don't like it. And that's it's fine. Everyone has opinions, totally get it, whatever. But if there's not much you can change because you can't mind read. So if you don't like it, what is it about it that you don't like? The colour's slightly off? Is there something weird going on with the perspective? Is it too busy? Is it too empty? The more clues you can give us, the more we can help. And you don't have to know exactly how to change it. That's the reason you've hired a creative, is because they've got the creative brains to fix it and to problem solve. But just give them a little head start, like if it's the colours, or if it is, they've missed this big chunk of content and important information that you wanted in there, you can put it that way. So yeah, just remembering that you hired a professional, they know what they're doing. The last one is to be patient. Illustration can be a time-consuming process, and if you want good work, sometimes it takes time, especially if there's rounds of revisions going on. Also in the time, even when an illustrator is not working, they're thinking about the work and they're problem solving in their head, and that can take a while. So as long as you have the deadlines and perhaps the key check-in times mapped out before you begin the project, you shouldn't need to worry about it. I also included a list of like feedback nightmares. Maybe I'll put them on here as like slideshow or something. I feel they're too painful to read out. They're so bad. No, I can't do it. Okay. I hope this has been helpful. I'll put a link to download it below. Nice to see you.